Hey guys, tonight we're doing something a little different. You're going to die. Well, not really, but you're going to imagine it. We're rewinding the clock to 1914, the year everything noble about war died in the mud. You're going to walk the soft, soggy path of a freshly recruited soul in the Great War. You've got your limbs, your naive optimism, and a sandwich you didn't finish because the mailman brought a letter with a red stamp. Bad sign. You don't know it yet, but the British Army has just invited you to the worst sleepover in history. No return date. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It starts with oatmeal stuck to your molars and the kind of headache only homemade gin could cause. Your mother is crying in the kitchen. Your father pretends not to be. He folds the conscription notice 3 times, like it's origami that might disappear if creased just right. You weren't supposed to be picked. You've got a dodgy knee and a barely teenage mustache, but the empire is desperate, and your body is good enough. The date is August 1914. The papers say it'll all be over by Christmas. Your uncle says he survived the Boer War with nothing but wit and whiskey. You pack both, plus a clean pair of socks. Outside, the sky looks bored. Even the birds aren't chirping. You're handed a dull brown uniform that smells like everyone else who's ever worn it. It scratches, it rides up in weird places, and it immediately makes you feel like cannon fodder. Because, well, you are. You climb into the back of a military truck that belches smoke and optimism. Around you, young men laugh too loud. They sing old marching songs, mispronounce French towns, and try to remember where Belgium actually is. You hold your kit bag tighter than you thought you would. By the time you arrive at the station, something in your stomach has curled into a knot. A good, solid British knot. Polite, but persistent. The train is not the type you've ridden before. These are cattle cars. Wooden, drafty, cold. The only view is through slits in the walls, like you're already behind bars. You sit on a hard plank beside a man named Alfred, who talks in his sleep and smells faintly of marmalade and gun oil. He tells you his wife made him promise he wouldn't die. You don't say anything. The train lurches. You're moving. And just like that, your old life falls behind the tracks. The next few hours are a haze of soot, bad sandwiches, and the kind of silence only men share when they're too afraid to admit they're scared. It's the quiet that tastes like metal. Historians still argue whether most early war volunteers were motivated by patriotism, peer pressure, or sheer boredom. You're not sure anymore. One of the older soldiers pulls out a harmonica and starts playing something sad, slow, and slightly out of tune. Everyone listens. No one claps. Somewhere near Dover, someone points out of the slit in the wall. That's France out there, ain't it? You nod, but you're not really looking. You're trying to remember if you told your sister where you hid her locket. You didn't. It's in your sock drawer, wrapped in your old concert ticket from that summer when life was all girls and beer and thinking 21 was old. You won't see 21. There's a funny smell in the car. Sweat, obviously. Fear, probably. And biscuits. Someone always has biscuits. When the train stops, it's night. A corporal with a voice like gravel and a face like sunburn screams at you to move faster, carry more, and think less. That last part you're starting to get good at. You're marched past rows of tents, crates of ammunition, and the occasional man shouting at a horse. The horse always wins. Eventually, you're dumped into a barrack with rows of beds that feel less like furniture and more like polite suggestions. You pick the least broken one. There's no pillow, just a scratchy blanket and the feeling that something crawled across your leg. You lie down and stare at the ceiling. The other men snore, cough, or whisper. You hear one guy crying, softly, rhythmically, like a leaky tap. You want to sleep, but your brain keeps playing the same movie. Your mother's eyes, the front door slamming, and that one girl you never told the truth to. Eventually, your eyelids win. But your dreams? They're already muddy.
You wake up to shouting. Not the dramatic, cinematic kind where someone's dying. No, just the gruff, perpetual bellowing of a man who seems to get paid by the decibel. The corporal is back, and this time he's got a whistle. Your body aches in ways that defy logic. You slept on your side, but your neck hurts like you tried to swallow a sandbag. Your boots are already damp. So is the air. So is everything. You're herded outside into the early morning mist, still more fog than day, and lined up with dozens of other confused boys. No one really knows where you are. France, probably. Near the front? Who can say? But the ground is muddy and the sergeant is shouting, so it must be important. He hands out rifles with all the ceremony of passing out bread rolls. The weapon is heavier than expected, cold, oily, and slightly sticky, a detail you try not to think about. You're told it's a Lee Enfield. The British Army loves them. You love spoons. No one's asking you, though. Training begins immediately. And by training, they mean standing in the rain while someone screams at you to hold the rifle differently. No, not like that. Like this. Then scolds you for having ears. You practice marching, which mostly involves stepping in rhythm until someone steps in cow dung and ruins it for everyone. You also practice digging, always digging. One guy says he's gonna dig all the way home. You laugh. Then you realize he's not joking. They teach you how to clean your weapon, though there's not much time for cleaning when you're sleeping next to it, stepping over it, or accidentally dropping it into a puddle the size of Luxembourg. Lunch is something. Historians still argue whether British trench stew contained actual meat or just exceptionally determined carrots. Today, yours includes something white and chewy. You swallow it anyway. Hunger overrides skepticism. In the afternoon, you're marched out for bayonet drills. This is where things get real. You're expected to stab a sack of straw while screaming from the bottom of your lungs. It's meant to prepare you for combat. Mostly it just makes your throat sore. Alfred throws up halfway through. The sergeant says, "That's the spirit." Night falls without ceremony. No sunset, just gray becoming black. You find yourself sitting on an overturned crate next to a man called Tibbs. He has no eyebrows, a tattoo of a duck on his neck, and a surprisingly delicate singing voice. He hums old music hall tunes while carving notches into his bayonet. He offers you a cigarette. You don't smoke. You take it anyway. You ask him what it's like up front. He shrugs, like standing in a sewer during a thunderstorm while someone tries to stab you. That night, you lie awake again. The harmonica guy's playing something vaguely hopeful. You hate how much you need it. Suddenly, the truck comes. A corporal reads off names. Yours is last. You climb in, rifle between your knees, back pressed against someone else's kit. The engine wheezes. You're off. No one speaks. This is the real deployment now. The part they wrote songs about, then stopped singing. The part with trenches. The road gets worse. Bumps multiply. So do rats. They dash across the path ahead, bold as anything. They own this land now. You pass by villages that are only technically still villages. Walls with holes, roofs with none. A piano sits in a field, keys exposed to the rain. Someone hums "God Save the King" under their breath. No one joins in. The corporal makes a joke about not bothering to learn your names. Most of you'll be numbers by next week. You laugh, you really do. It's not funny, but the alternative is crying in front of strangers. So, you laugh. Historians still argue whether laughter at the front was a coping mechanism, a social glue, or just another sound that kept the silence away. The truck stops. You step out and your boots immediately sink into 6 inches of brown sludge. Welcome to your new home, the front line. The trench is everything you hoped it wouldn't be. Narrow, wet, dark. It smells like rot, rust, and wet rope. And something else. Something you decide not to identify. You're assigned a position, far enough from the officer's dugout, but close enough to get hit by whatever the Germans cook up next. Your job tonight is simple. Stay awake, keep your head down, and pretend you know what you're doing. You climb into your corner. There's no roof. The stars are out, but they're barely brighter than the smog. You try to sleep sitting up, boots still on, rifle in lap. The wood digs into your thigh. Somewhere in the dark, someone whispers a prayer. Someone else farts. It's all very spiritual. The last thing you think before dozing off is, what if I make it out of this? Then, your foot slips. It's not water. Your body wakes before your mind does. It's cold. Not the kind of cold that bites, the kind that soaks deep into your boots, into your knees, into your soul, if that's still hanging around. You're upright, head against the trench wall, cheek numb from pressed earth. Something skitters over your leg. Could be a rat, could be a hallucination. You're no longer fussy about the difference. "Stand to," comes the call. You jolt like a puppet, a very damp, very grumpy puppet. Everyone in the trench rises at once, groaning softly, clutching rifles. It's tradition. At first light and last light, both sides get ready in case the other tries something clever. The sky is a bruise of gray and yellow. You can't tell if it's dawn or just the sun giving up. You stare over the edge, barely peeking. There's barbed wire ahead, like someone tried to sew the horizon shut. A single shot cracks in the distance. No one reacts. That's just breakfast now. The morning routine begins. Some shave with cold water. Others eat stale biscuits with teeth that aren't entirely theirs anymore. You chew yours slowly, like it might suddenly taste like home. Training continues, though it's generous to call it that. Today's lesson: how not to die from your own stupidity. Rule 1. Don't light a cigarette at night unless you want to become a glowing target. Rule 2. Don't pee uphill. Gravity is not your friend. The officer arrives. He's 22 and looks like he's playing dress-up in his father's clothes. He gives a stirring speech about duty, honor, and sticking bayonets into the Hun. You focus on the flap of mud on his left boot that wiggles every time he moves. It's hypnotic. Afterwards, there's a drill. You and the lads are made to run a zigzag across open ground. It's called fire and movement. You call it trying not to trip while being yelled at. You fall once. No one laughs. They're too tired. Lunch arrives in dented tins, something resembling stew. Smells like metal and regret. You eat all of it. Hunger has no pride. Afternoon brings a surprise. A chaplain. He says a prayer in the mud while everyone looks politely disinterested. Then he gives out leaflets with hymns and a reminder that God is with you. You wonder if God brought extra socks. Historians still argue whether the religious support in the trenches brought genuine comfort or just filled awkward silence. Either way, the chaplain gets better food. No one asks why. Then comes the drill with the bayonets. You're marched to a small clearing, given new straw-filled dummies, and ordered to charge. Thrust, twist, withdraw, yells the sergeant. You feel ridiculous, like jousting a scarecrow in a dream you don't understand. One boy next to you goes too hard. His bayonet bends. He starts crying. The sergeant says he's just overexcited. You think he's just broken. That evening, you help unload a shipment of supplies, ammo, pickaxes, and tins of corned beef that expired before the war started. One crate falls open. It's filled with boots, all left-footed. You're not sure if it's a joke or a logistical failure. Both feel likely. You're sent to the listening post that night, a small outcrop just beyond the trench to hear for enemy movement. It's terrifying. Every snap of twig is a German. Every breeze is a sniper's breath. You lie still for 2 hours. Your bladder hates you. The moon is out.
You'd forgotten how beautiful it could be. For a moment, it's just you, the stars, and the occasional whisper of artillery far away. Then someone shifts beside you and breaks wind. You're back. Later, back in the trench, Alfred tells you about his dream. He was at the beach. His wife wore a yellow dress. She doesn't own a yellow dress. It's the happiest dream he's had in weeks. You try to dream something too, but your brain just replays today's mud in new configurations. You wake up to a rat trying to steal a crumb from your collar. You let him take it. It's his world now.
You'd think your body would get used to it. The cold, the damp, the overwhelming sensation that your feet are slowly turning into boiled cabbage inside your boots. But no, every morning is a fresh audition for misery. You roll out of your trench nook like a forgotten sausage and land in 6 inches of pure, democracy-flavored mud. Your socks squelch in a way that makes you question every life decision, especially the one involving joining up for a bit of adventure. Breakfast is lukewarm tea that tastes like it was steeped in a boot. You drink it gratefully. Today is your 3rd full day at the front, and you already understand that time here doesn't behave like normal time. It stretches, warps, loops. 10 minutes can feel like an hour. A week ago feels like a past life. The morning passes in silence, mostly, except for the scratching. You notice it just after breakfast, a subtle tickle behind your ear, then under your shirt, then, oh no, in your socks. Vermin. Not the rat kind. You've accepted rats. They're roommates now. No, this is the elite tier. Lice. Congratulations. You've been officially initiated. You try not to scratch, but it's like telling a Victorian child not to be haunted. Futile. Alfred shows you the trick. Hold a candle to the seams of your shirt and listen for the faint pop of exploding lice. You do it and feel like a warlock casting a very itchy spell. "Welcome to the club," says Tibbs, showing you a constellation of red bites along his ribs. "We're all crawling universities now." Historians still argue whether trench lice were more demoralizing than shellfire. You vote lice. At least shells come and go. Lice make themselves at home, apply for residency, and raise families. You spend the morning cleaning your rifle. You name it, not out loud, but mentally. Her name is Mabel. She jams sometimes and smells like despair, but she's yours. The trenches are a living thing now. They shift, collapse, flood, and breathe. The walls ooze. The floor is never dry. You try placing duckboards, wooden slats, over the worst parts, but they float away like disloyal ships. At one point, you spot a boot sticking out of the trench wall. Just the boot, no foot. You look away. Later, you're put on latrine duty. Yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. The bathroom is a plank with a hole over a pit. The smell defies physics.
And for reasons no one can explain, it always seems to face the wind. You try holding your breath, you almost pass out. Afterwards, you help dig a new section of trench. The mud fights back. Every spadeful feels like you're scooping regret. At one point, your shovel hits something solid. Bone. Human. You keep digging anyway. The sergeant claps you on the back and says, "Only a few more feet and it'll be cozy enough for a Christmas dinner." He's joking, you think. For lunch, bully beef again. It's like chewing salty erasers. Someone gets a letter, not you. You pretend not to mind. The afternoon brings excitement, a supply drop. It includes jam tins, more boots, this time mostly right-footed, and a few newspapers. The headlines say things like, "War going well," and "Gallant boys on the front line." You laugh so hard you choke on your biscuit. As dusk falls, a man named Harrington starts singing quietly. It's something slow and old, a song his grandmother used to hum while gutting fish. You don't know the words, but you hum along. Then, silence. A shell lands somewhere nearby. The ground rumbles. You all freeze. Another. Closer. Then a scream, far off, thin like a torn thread. Everyone goes still, like statues made of wet wool. There's no retaliation, just stillness. You think about your bed back home, about the creak it made when you rolled over, about the smell of the street outside, coal, rain, pastry. It's fading. You sleep that night in a hunch, arms around your knees, boots on, rifle nearby. The trench groans in the wind. Water drips steadily. A rat licks your boot and scurries off. You whisper good night to no one, and the lice bite back.
Boom. That's how your day starts. No good morning, no bugle, just an artillery shell landing 50 yards away and shaking your rib cage like someone knocking on your lungs. You're awake now, so is everyone else. The corporal yells something, probably instructions, but it's hard to hear anything when your ears are ringing like a church bell on payday. You throw on your helmet, grip Mabel, your loyal lift Moody rifle, and brace. Another shell, closer. This is what they call a morning bombardment. Think of it like breakfast, if breakfast wanted to bury you in 6 feet of churned dirt and shredded metal. Historians still argue whether these pre-dawn barrages were meant to break morale or simply disorient. You could have told them it's both. You crouch in the trench, back pressed to the earth wall, fingers digging into the muck. Dirt rains from above. Somewhere down the line, someone screams. It might be pain, or it might just be someone who's finally had enough. Either way, no one checks. The shelling lasts 15 minutes, or maybe a year. Eventually, it stops. Silence doesn't come gently. It slams down like a trap door. You blink up at the gray sky and realize your mouth is full of mud. You didn't even notice falling. Your uniform is torn at the sleeve. Your helmet is dented. And your friend, Alfred, he's not beside you anymore. You find him 2 meters away, sitting down, face blank, hands shaking. He's not bleeding. He's just somewhere else now. You put a hand on his shoulder. He doesn't move. Breakfast is technically served. A pot of tea and something called army porridge, which appears to be boiled cardboard with ambition.
You eat it anyway. Someone makes a joke about how if the stew doesn't kill you, the rats will. You try to laugh, but it gets caught in your throat. Today's task: reinforce the trench wall. It started to cave from the constant moisture and, well, artillery. You hammer wooden struts into place, scoop muck from the bottom, and slap on sandbags with the enthusiasm of a man frosting a cake made of despair. At one point, you uncover a helmet. It still has a head in it. You quietly rebury it. That afternoon, the sergeant delivers the news. We're expecting a raid tonight. Stay alert. Great. You spend the next few hours prepping, checking rifles, counting ammo, adjusting barbed wire. The guy on wire duty slices his palm and faints. No one blames him. You're not built for this either. The sun sets in red streaks, like someone slit the sky open. You take first watch. The world narrows to a small slit in the trench wall. Your eyes scan no man's land, the dead zone between you and them. It's flat, torn, and filled with jagged silhouettes of trees that forgot they were trees. You see something move. No, wait, just wind through wire. Then again, a shadow? You grip Mabel tighter. Historians still argue whether raids were effective military strategies or just ways to keep the troops too busy to think. You're pretty sure it's the second one. The raid doesn't come. Instead, a flare goes up, bright as sin, and suddenly the entire world is white and shadow all at once. You duck instinctively. A rifle pops in the distance, then another, then silence. You exhale through your teeth. Eventually, the flare fades. The dark returns. Everything looks worse now, like the light peeled back a layer of lies. You're relieved from watch. Tibbs replaces you. He offers a wink. If I die, you can have my socks. Already full of holes, you mutter. You're welcome. Sleep is shallow tonight. You curl into yourself, helmet still on, one hand on your rifle. You dream of breakfast. Not this breakfast. Real breakfast. Eggs, bread, the smell of butter. Then something wakes you. It's soft, subtle, a sloshing. Water. The trench is flooding again. You sigh, roll over, and let the cold soak into your bones.
It's still dark when you feel it. Not the rain, though that's back too. A cold drizzle that drips from your helmet and slides down your neck like the world's saddest ice cream. No, it's under your boot. You take a step and something shifts, soft, rounded. You look down. It's a leg, a human leg, not attached to anything you can see. You freeze. Your heart doesn't pound. It doesn't have the energy. It just waits. You move your boot. The leg stays still. Of course it does. Welcome to your first dead body. You don't scream. You don't cry. You just look. There's no boot, just a sock, wet and torn. A foot inside it. A little toe sticking out, pale as wax. You take a deep breath, step over it, and try not to think about where the rest of him is. Breakfast is a dry biscuit and silence.
Alfred hasn't said anything since yesterday. He eats robotically, eyes fixed on the middle distance. Tibbs offers him half a cigarette. No reaction. Someone behind you throws up. It's barely 6 a.m. The trenches today are quiet. No shelling, no orders. Just wind and whispers. And mud, of course. Always mud. You and a few others are tasked with the morning patrol, a slow crawl through no man's land to check the wire and see if the enemy is up to anything new. You do not volunteer. You are volunteered. They hand you a pair of wire cutters and a little mirror on a stick, like you're going to a dental appointment with Death himself. You go over the top just before dawn. The mud grabs at your knees. The cold grabs at your lungs. You move low and slow, praying not to make a sound. Every shadow is a rifle. Every breeze is breath on your neck. You find a section of wire that's been tampered with, possibly by the enemy, possibly by a very angry rat. You signal to the others. They nod. No one speaks. Even the wind seems to hush. Then something glints ahead. A helmet? You crawl forward, slowly, quietly, and come face to face with a corpse half buried in the mud. German, young, no helmet, just a mouth frozen open, and eyes that look surprised, even now. You stare too long. Then you blink and retreat. On the way back, Tibbs catches his sleeve on the wire. He lets out a grunt. You all freeze. Wait. Nothing. The line holds. You return to the trench an hour later, soaked to the bone, and suddenly older by 10 years. Alfred is still sitting, still silent. Someone tries to joke that he's turning into part of the trench. No one laughs. Historians still argue whether shell shock was properly understood by 1915. You don't need a historian. You have Alfred. The officer gives you a pat on the back and says you did well. You don't even remember what you did. You nod anyway. Lunch is cold tea and something vaguely resembling mashed turnip. The flavor profile is regret with hints of earth. Later, there's word of mail. Everyone perks up like dogs hearing the food cupboard. Letters are rare, precious, alive. You get one. It's from your sister. She talks about the neighbor's cat having kittens and how your father tried to fix the roof and fell off again. Normal things, beautiful things. You don't cry, but your chest does something strange. You read it twice, then again. You fold it carefully and tuck it into the inside of your shirt, close to your heart, or at least where you think your heart still is. That night, the harmonica starts again, the same old tune, but this time Alfred hums along. It's quiet, weak, but there. You don't sleep well, but you sleep.
You dream of hands reaching through the mud, not to hurt you, just to remind you they're still here.
By now, the trench is home. Not the good kind with fireplaces and biscuits and someone who kisses your forehead. No, this is the kind of home that creaks, leaks, stinks, and refuses to let you leave. A wet coffin with roommates. The walls sweat. The roof is the sky. The furniture is whatever you can sit on without getting trench foot, which isn't much. Today, your task is to keep yourself from going insane. Not in the dramatic sense, more like don't stare at the wall so long that you name the mud lumps. You've already named 3. The rats are bolder now. One runs across your legs mid-sentence while you're talking to Tibbs. He doesn't flinch. He just sighs and says, "At least he didn't take my biscuit." You both laugh. Barely. The routine is what holds you together. Eat. Clean rifle. Stare into space. Joke about how terrible the stew is. Repeat. Today's stew tastes sharper. You're not sure if it's the meat or your imagination. Historians still argue whether the trench rations caused long-term illness or just short-term disgust. Either way, your stomach has stopped filing complaints. A new arrival appears, fresh, pink-cheeked, boots still shiny. His name's Clive. He talks about how his uncle served in India and how he can't wait to give the Boche a proper thrashing. You and Tibbs exchange a look. Clive asks if he'll get to ride a horse. You point to a dead mule near the latrine. Clive stops asking questions. By mid-morning, the lieutenant decides it's time for morale maintenance. This means singing. He passes around hymn sheets and suggests a round of "Pack Up Your Troubles." You sing, quietly, because Tibbs is humming it with a look on his face that isn't quite smiling, but also isn't crying. More like remembering how to be a person. And somehow, for a few minutes, the air feels lighter. Then comes the lice. Again. Again. They've multiplied, upgraded, maybe unionized. Maybe unionized. Your armpits itch like someone's replaced your sweat glands with porcupines. You burn the seams of your shirt with the end of a match, watching the tiny bodies burst like popcorn. The smell is faintly awful. Everyone scratching, all the time. A constant symphony of skin against fabric. Someone jokes that the lice have ranks now. Officers, generals, even a logistics corps. Someone else says, "I'd rather fight them than the Germans." No one disagrees. Afternoon brings rain, not gentle, angry, sideways rain that laughs at your waterproofs. The trench begins to flood again. You spend 2 hours with a bucket, bailing out your corner like a sad little pirate with a broken ship. Your boots fill up. You tip 'em out. They fill again. Eventually, you stop trying. You just float. You think about how your mom used to complain about the leaky roof and how your dad would patch it up with leftover tin and curses. It seemed so annoying then. You'd pay gold for that roof now. The officer calls for an inventory check. You have one Lee Enfield rifle, still named Mabel, 37 bullets, one dented helmet, one waterlogged notebook, one letter from your sister, infinite lice. That night, you're assigned to watch duty with Clive. He's quiet now, not trembling, just still. You sit together at the corner post, peeking over the trench lip. No man's land stretches out before you, like a battlefield built by a child with too much imagination and too little mercy. Clive whispers, "Do you think they're watching us?" You say yes, because they are. The Germans are out there, just as wet, just as tired, maybe even humming their own sad songs. You wonder if their rats are better trained. You both sit in silence, trading the occasional glance, until Clive asks, "What if we're already dead, just forgotten to lie down?" You don't answer, because some nights, that's exactly how it feels.
The sun never rises anymore. It sort of arrives, like a late guest to a funeral, already soggy, already apologetic. You wake up and the sky's just less black. Today is inspection day, which sounds nice, like maybe someone will clean the floors and fluff the pillows. Spoiler, no. Inspection means the lieutenant stomps through the trench in polished boots that somehow stay clean, pretending not to notice the wall made of collapsed sandbags and someone's misplaced femur. He tuts, he frowns, he adjusts his cap, then he nods. Success. Breakfast is a single slice of bread and something pretending to be jam. It's mostly sugar. You eat it with reverence. You lick the knife. Tibbs licks the wrapper. Everyone has given up on pretending they're not animals. And speaking of animals, today you meet the mule. Not just any mule. This one is the battalion's official mascot / transport / therapist. His name is Edward. He wears a tiny canvas cap, hates loud noises, and has bitten 3 officers this week. You love him instantly. He's delivered rations, letters, and one time, allegedly, a bottle of brandy hidden in a sandbag. You scratch behind his ear. He sneezes on you. Friendship sealed. Your job today is helping unload ammo. Heavy boxes, soggy labels, each one stamped with "Property of His Majesty." You think about that. How technically your ribs are also property now. You nearly drop one box on your foot. Would have been a ticket home. But you hesitate. You still have all your toes. Still some pride left. Probably a mistake. Historians still argue whether self-inflicted injuries were an act of cowardice or rebellion. You think
Maybe just desperation wearing a uniform. Around midday, Clive vomits. Not from fear this time, just from the smell. Today's wind is from the east, which means it carries the stench of something unspeakable from down the trench. It's not a body, you hope. Probably just the latrine, which has overflowed again. A man named Willoughby attempts to fix it with 2 planks, some string, and prayers to 5 different gods. None of them answer. Tea arrives. Technically, it's hot, which is impressive. It tastes like leaf water mixed with regret, but it's hot, and that's what matters. You sip slowly, and watch the smoke curl from your tin mug like it's a campfire back home. For 3 whole minutes, you almost feel human. Then comes the shout. "Medic!" You freeze. It's not your trench, it's the one to the left. But the word cuts through everything. You hear running, you hear sobbing, you hear silence. The medic walks past a moment later. His hands are red. You don't ask. Later, during a lull, someone starts telling a story about the war being over by Easter. "Of which year?" someone mutters. The storyteller doesn't smile. You get mail again. Not a letter this time, a package. You open it slowly, like it might bite. Inside, socks, dry. A tin of mints. A note from your aunt saying she hopes you're enjoying the adventure. You stare at that word, adventure. It tastes weird in your mouth, like it got lost on the way to somewhere else. You give Clive a mint. He says it tastes like chalk. You say, better than rat. He doesn't laugh, but he doesn't cry either. Progress. Night comes early. You're on watch again. No Man's Land is quieter tonight. The moon is hiding. The barbed wire glistens. You hear distant gunfire, but it's far enough away to feel like background noise. You think about Edward, the mule, asleep somewhere under a tarp. You think about Tibb's stupid humming. You think about home and whether your room still smells like dust and books and safety. Clive whispers, "I think the rats are planning something." You whisper back, "Let them. They can have my socks if they ask nicely." And just for a moment, you both almost smile. Then the flare goes up. Again. And the world turns white.
White. Everything is white. Not clean, not heavenly, not like snow. It's flare light, harsh, brutal, the kind of white that burns shadows into your skull and makes every jagged silhouette in no man's land look like it's moving. You flatten instinctively. Everyone does, like roaches in a lightning storm. You grip your helmet with one hand, your rifle with the other. Your knuckles scream. Your heart whispers, "Not tonight." The flare hangs in the air longer than physics should allow. Then it fizzles, and the world goes dark again. Not peaceful dark, but pitch black,
You might die any moment dark. Nothing happens. Yet. Back to watch. Clive mutters, "Why do they always do that?" You answer without blinking, to remind us they can. No man's land hums with silence, that kind of silence that has teeth. Your shift ends an hour later. You pass the watch off to Tibbs, who salutes ironically with a chunk of stale bread. He's still smiling, somehow. You sleep for a while, or maybe you just close your eyes and dream with them open. At some point in the night, someone farts loudly. Everyone cheers. It's the happiest moment of the day. Come morning, you're shuffled into the back end of the trench where the luxuries are kept. An empty water barrel, some dented pots, and a crate labeled Letters from Home, 1914. It's 1916. You read one. It's from a girl named Eliza to her brother Matthew. It says she's learning to ride a bicycle, and that the dog has stolen her knitting yarn again. She ends it with, "Please don't be brave, just come back." You don't know what happened to Matthew, but the fact that his letter ended up here says enough. Today is Sunday, which means something that vaguely resembles chapel. The chaplain arrives, muddy boots and all, and sets up a makeshift altar on a box of mortar shells. He reads from the Psalms, the one about walking through the valley of the shadow of death. You chuckle, not out of disrespect, out of accuracy. He gives a short sermon, something about hope. Tibbs listens with his eyes closed. Clive crosses himself 3 times. You just look at the sky and wonder if God really made clouds that always look like bruises. After service, you get the surprise of all surprises. Mail delivery. Real mail. Recent mail. A letter from your sister. She says your name was mentioned in the village paper. Local lad serving heroically. You haven't even fired your weapon yet. You don't know whether to laugh or cry. She says your father is back on the roof again. Fell off again. This time into the gooseberry bush. The bush is fine. He's not. You smile for real. Lunch is bread and cheese. The cheese is suspiciously shiny. Clive dares you to eat it. You do. You regret it. Afternoon duty, clearing out the dugout. It smells like socks and sin. Inside you find 3 empty cigarette tins, a deck of cards with 2 queens missing, 1 photograph of a woman in a wedding dress tucked behind a sandbag. You stare at her smile for a long time. She doesn't look like she knows what mud is. You place the photo gently back where you found it. Later, someone gets a nosebleed, and the medic gives them a full physical just for something to do. You think about faking one, just to hear someone say, "You're fine." But you don't. Evening brings another round of singing. This time it's not from command. It just happens. A soft hum, then words. A verse, then a chorus. You join in. It's quiet, uneven, but it rises, like breath, like prayer. The sky fades purple, then black, then nothing. You dream of bicycles and knitting yarn and letters that always arrive on time. And you don't wake up to an explosion. That's new.
The shovel hits something hard. You stop, lean on the handle, and sigh. Could be a rock. Could be another helmet. Could be someone who got tired of this war before you did. You're digging saps today, narrow trenches stretching into no man's land, forward paths, dangerous, necessary, soul-crushing. The sergeant calls them progress. You call them graves in waiting. The mud is heavier than usual, wet clay. Every step pulls at your boots like the earth wants you back, like it's whispering, lie down, rest, no more drills. You ignore it, mostly. Clive is 2 meters ahead, huffing. His shovel keeps slipping. He's trying. You want to tell him it doesn't matter. You don't. Tibbs hums quietly behind you, some tune you've heard 100 times but can never quite name. You wonder if he sings it in his sleep. At some point, you break for tea. It tastes like dishwater strained through someone's bootlace. You love it. Your hands are raw. Your back aches. Your fingers are permanently shaped like shovel handles. You sit in the trench sipping, watching the sky bruise again. The clouds roll heavy and low, rain coming. Again. Tibbs mutters, "At least rain means fewer bullets." You nod. Historians still argue whether trench life was 80% boredom and 20% terror, or the reverse. Today, it's 100% damp existential comedy. Back to work. You dig, and dig, and dig. You start naming the lumps of earth again. This one's Gerald. That one's Susan. That one looks like your uncle if your uncle had been flattened by history. Suddenly, a whistle. High, sharp. Everyone freezes. Then the shout, "Incoming!" You throw yourself flat into the mud. The sound that follows is not a boom. It's a tearing, like the sky itself is being unzipped. A shell lands somewhere to your right. The air slams into your chest like a door kicked by God. Your ears ring. You taste blood. Someone is screaming. Could be you. When you lift your head, there's a hole where the ground used to be. Smoke, shrapnel, a shredded backpack flutters like a flag. Tibbs is on the ground, curled up, breathing, muttering, "Just wind, just wind." Clive is missing. You call for him once, twice. No answer. You find him 20 minutes later, dazed, dirt-streaked, one boot missing, alive, mostly. He looks at you like you're a ghost. Maybe you are. Back in the main trench, things are strangely calm. That's how it works. Hell breaks loose,
Then it snaps shut like nothing happened. You sit down, try to wipe your hands. The mud comes off in flakes. Underneath, your skin looks older. Alfred finally speaks. Do you think they know what it's like? You blink. He hasn't spoken in days. Back home, he says. Do you think they know? You shake your head. He nods. Didn't think so. Dinner is unidentifiable, brown, sticky, warm. You don't ask questions. You eat, slowly. You notice a new man has arrived. Fresh uniform, shiny buttons, wide eyes. He's trying to write a letter. You watch him scratch out the same line 3 times. You know that feeling. Wanting to say something true, but not wanting your mother to worry. That night, you and Tibbs sit in the dugout. He's quiet. His hands shake. You pass him your last mint. He doesn't smile, but he nods. The stars are out tonight, clearer than usual. The trench is quiet. No singing, just breathing, and rats. And the occasional cough that sounds like it's been passed down through 5 generations of misery. You lie back. The shovel lies beside you, still warm, still ready. You close your eyes and feel the mud embrace you like an old friend. Tomorrow you'll dig again, but tonight you rest.
You wake up, coughing. Not the dry, polite kind, the full-body, lung-wrenching kind, like something deep inside you is trying to escape. Your throat tastes like metal. Your eyes burn. Your hands are shaking. And then you hear it, the shouting. Gas! 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 The panic rises faster than your legs do. You scramble for your mask, not where it's supposed to be. You fumble through your kit, overturn your helmet, shove your fingers through a dozen muddy layers until, there, the canvas bag. You yank it out, pull the strap over your head, and secure the mask just as the first wave of yellow-green mist snakes over the trench wall. You can't breathe. Well, you can, but the mask smells like glue and mildew, and your nose is crushed against old canvas. Your breath fogs the inside. The straps dig into your cheeks. But you're alive. For now. Around you, others are coughing, fumbling, crying out. Some got their masks on in time, some didn't. One man forgot entirely and is clawing at his throat like it personally betrayed him. The gas clings to the ground. It's heavier than air. It rolls in slow and low like a fog from some broken nightmare. You hear a scream. High, wet. It ends quickly. You don't look. Instead, you sit there, head between your knees, eyes watering behind scratched lenses, listening to the whimpers and the gasps. Historians still argue whether early gas attacks were more psychological or physical warfare. You're currently enjoying both. Eventually, the wind shifts. The mist thins.
Someone gives the all clear, though you're not sure who gave them the all clear. You peel off your mask, your skin is damp, your lips taste bitter. You feel like you've aged another decade. Clive is shaking again. You put a hand on his back. He doesn't push you away. You sit in silence. The trench looks like a battlefield drawn by a madman. Everything is slightly too still. And then the voice of command. Prepare for attack. Your stomach drops. It's the thing you've trained for, the thing you've hoped would never come. You load your rifle. Your hands are slow, slippery. You think you've got 10 rounds, maybe 12. You pat down your pockets, count again. Good enough. They line you up. Tibbs to your left, Clive to your right. The new lad, the one with shiny boots, is already praying. The sergeant gives a short speech, something about courage, something about honor. You're not listening. You're thinking about your mum, your old bed, the way toast used to smell on Sunday mornings. The whistle blows. You climb out of the trench, into the light, into no man's land. The air is sharp and loud. Bullets snap past like angry insects. The ground erupts in dirty geysers. You run, duck, stumble. You don't feel your legs, just the momentum. Like your body decided, we're going, you'll catch up later. Someone falls beside you. You don't look. You aim, you fire. The recoil surprises you. So does the hit. You think you hit something, or someone. It doesn't feel like victory. You advance 10 meters, then 15. Then you drop into a shell hole and breathe like you've just finished drowning. Tibbs drops in beside you, face pale, blood on his sleeve. Just a graze, he says, grinning like he's telling you he stubbed his toe. Clive is nowhere in sight. You want to stand, to move, to finish the charge. But you stay low. Shells fall again, closer. One hits somewhere behind. You wait, and wait. And when it stops, if it stops, you will crawl out of this hole and keep going. Because that's what they tell you to do. Because stopping is treason. Because surviving is not the same as living, but it's all you've got. You adjust your grip on Mabel. You whisper something soft, just for yourself. Then you look up at the edge of the crater, take a breath, and rise.
You rise, just enough to see over the crater's lip, just enough to make a very tempting target. You duck back down before the rifle crack reaches your ears. The bullet hits the far wall of the hole with a thock, like someone slapping wet leather. Too close, much too close. Tibbs peers out beside you, mutters, "Sniper's getting bored." You lie back for a moment, staring up at the sky, which now seems to be impersonating soup, a churning gray broth with no hint of sun.
You breathe shallowly. You don't want to draw too much attention. Even your lungs feel loud. Another shell explodes 100 yards away. You don't flinch anymore. You just note it. You and Tibbs wait. 5 minutes. 10. Then the shouting starts. You hear your sergeant's voice, barely, calling you forward, more like begging the crater itself to give up its children. Tibbs says, "Time to go." You nod. You don't want to. You go anyway. You climb again, over the top of your temporary grave, rifle held close, eyes scanning the torn earth ahead. There's smoke, fire, screams, barbed wire twisting like the scribbles of a madman across the horizon. The Germans are ahead, somewhere, hidden in their own trenches, aiming their own Mabels, muttering their own prayers. You run. Tibbs is beside you. Then he's not. You don't hear the shot. You just hear the absence. You look back and see him on the ground, face down, arms splayed. There's a small puff of dust where he fell. No scream, no motion. You want to go back, you really do, but you keep moving. That decision, that half-second, will wake you up in dreams for the rest of your life, however long that is. You reach a crater near the enemy line. You hurl yourself in and land beside someone else, British, covered in dirt, breathing. "Name's Reggie," he says, "like this is tea time." You nod, too breathless to introduce yourself. Reggie says he's been here 20 minutes, lost his squad, nearly got bayoneted by a German who turned out to be a corpse. "Bloody polite, that one," he says, "didn't even twitch." He hands you a cigarette with shaking hands. You don't smoke. You smoke anyway. Then comes the call, a real push, over the top, into the German trench. You go again. You move like a machine now, legs pumping, boots skidding, the rifle bucking in your hands. You barely register when someone lurches at you, German, eyes wild, until your bayonet is already inside him. It's not dramatic. There's no music, just breath and blood and disbelief. He slides off. You stand there, staring. Reggie grabs your arm and pulls you forward. "Later," he grunts. "We mourn later." You leap into the enemy trench. It's not so different from yours. Same smell, same mud, same ghosts. You clear a corner with your rifle. Empty. They're shouting up ahead. Then nothing. And then stillness. Just for a moment, everything stops. Your legs buckle. You sit down, in enemy mud, holding a rifle that's still warm. Around you, silence. Your hands shake. You look at your palms. They're covered in dirt, blood, someone else's memory. Historians still argue whether trench warfare was truly senseless or just the only option left after diplomacy failed. You think about the man you just killed. You think about Tibbs. And you think, what was the plan anyway? You rest your head against the trench wall. For now, there is quiet. You close your eyes for 5 minutes. You don't dream. You just disappear.
You wake to coughing, not your own. Reggie's crouched beside you, rifling through a pack that doesn't belong to him. He's not subtle about it, and he's definitely not sorry. "Spoils of war," he mutters, or what's left of it. You sit up slowly. Your joints crack like twigs. Your uniform is soaked, partly from rain, partly from sweat, partly from things you'd rather not name. Around you, the German trench is eerily quiet. No voices, no orders, just the occasional distant boom, like thunder in a story you're no longer part of. Reggie hands you a biscuit he found. You chew it slowly. It tastes like paper that once met sugar at a party, but left early. You move through the trench together, clearing corners, checking for stragglers. You find none. You do find bodies, lots of them. Most are young. One has a letter still in his hand. You don't look at the name. Reggie pauses beside a small dugout, lifts a tattered photo from the mud. A woman and 3 children. He stares at it for a long time, then tucks it into his breast pocket. Says nothing. You come across a German rifle propped against the wall, next to a helmet filled with rainwater. You drink from it. Hydration has stopped being fussy. Eventually, a runner from your unit arrives, covered in mud and looking vaguely haunted. "Back!" he pants. "We're pulling back! Orders!" You don't ask why. Maybe it was a success. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it doesn't matter. You and Reggie climb out of the German trench and back into no man's land. Slower now, more careful. The battlefield is even worse in daylight. What looked like smoke before is actually steam rising from the churned earth. The barbed wire glistens. Torn uniforms flutter like forgotten flags. Flies hum like lullabies. At one point, Reggie stops and kneels. There's someone on the ground. It's Tibbs. Still, pale. He's on his back, eyes open, mouth slightly parted, like he was about to ask a question he never got to finish. Reggie takes off his helmet. You do the same. No words. You reach down, gently close Tibbs' eyes, and place his helmet over his chest. It's not a ceremony, it's not official, but it's what you can do. You return to your trench by nightfall. It looks smaller now, quieter, less like a fortress, more like a scar. Clive is there, alive, eyes wide. He doesn't say anything. He just nods at you. The officer gives a short debrief.
Something about, "Good work, lads." You don't hear it. Your ears are still full of the sound of Reggie's boots in the mud. That night, dinner is cold tea and silence. No one sings, no harmonica, just chewing and the occasional scrape of tin on tin. Before bed, you write a letter. You start with "Dear Mum," and then stare at the page for 10 minutes. You don't know how to say, "I watched a friend die and didn't cry because I'm afraid the tears won't stop." Instead, you write, "I'm doing fine. We're keeping warm. The lads are in good spirits. Love to everyone." You sign your name. It doesn't look like yours anymore. That night, you sleep sitting up, rifle in hand. There are no flares, no explosions, only rats, and breathing, and the thought, you're still here, but less of you is.
By the time morning comes, you're already awake. You didn't sleep so much as drift, half dreams and phantom sounds, mud shifting, someone calling your name in a voice you didn't recognize. You've gotten used to not trusting your senses or time. Outside, the trench is quiet. Damp mist coats everything in soft gray. It would be beautiful, if not for the smell. Burnt powder, unwashed bodies, and something else, old, heavy, human. Clive sits a few meters away, sharpening a stick with his bayonet. Not for any reason, just something to do. He looks up. Reggie's gone. You pause. Gone where? Clive shrugs. Said he needed to see the sky without barbed wire. Took a rifle and didn't come back. You nod. That's how most disappearances happen now. Quietly, voluntarily, one step at a time. Later, the lieutenant comes down with a clipboard and the energy of someone pretending everything's fine. He calls your name. You flinch. You're being transferred. Rear unit. Temporary. Some kind of rest rotation. You don't feel relieved. You just feel removed. You pack your things. Rifle, Mabel, still scratched, still yours. A pair of socks, crusted stiff. The letter from your sister. The biscuit tin with half a mint. And you go. The truck that picks you up is already half full. Soldiers packed shoulder to shoulder like books in a bag. No one speaks. One man clutches a photograph like it's breathing. You sit. You bounce. The engine coughs and lurches. The road is worse than the trench. At least the trench didn't pretend to be going anywhere. After 2 hours, the vehicle stops at a clearing. Barracks, tents, a fire pit. You're told this is the rest area. It smells like bread. Actual bread. You're handed soup. It's warm, salty, real. Someone gives you a blanket that doesn't smell like death. You sit by the fire and let it all soak in. Not comfort,
just absence of horror. A nurse walks by. She asks how you're feeling. You try to say, fine. It comes out as, he didn't twitch. She stops, looks at you, nods, and walks away. You're given a bed, a cot, a pillow. You lie down, and that's when it happens. You cry. Not quietly, not cinematically, just everything all at once. All the names you didn't say, all the jokes you pretended were funny, all the friends who disappeared like fog. You cover your face and let it happen. No one interrupts. Later that night, someone puts a kettle on. The smell of tea fills the air. Familiar, steady. You sit with a group of other men, cleanish, mostly intact, and pass around a can of condensed milk like it's champagne. One of them asks where you're from. You forget. Then you remember. You say it softly, like it's the name of a ghost. The man nods. I'm from Leeds. Used to be a barber. Another says, carpenter. Another, taught Latin. No one cared. You say, I dug saps. Named mud lumps. One of them was Gerald. They laugh. You laugh too. It's not funny, but it's real. You sleep that night in a bed with actual sheets. And when you dream, it's of Tibbs, standing in the trench, smiling. He says nothing, just raises a hand and fades.
They send you back. Of course they do. The rest period lasts exactly 6 days. Just enough time for your cough to ease, your hands to stop shaking, and your boots to dry. Just enough time for hope to form a thin crust over your nerves. Then orders. You're not angry, not surprised, just hollow, like someone poured you out and forgot to refill the container. The truck ride is quiet again. The same coughing engine, the same unblinking faces. No one says where they're going. No one asks. You're all just pieces being rotated in the great game. The sky darkens on the way back. A drizzle starts halfway through the drive and never quite stops. When you return to the front, the trench looks different, smaller, more crooked. The sign that used to say, "To the front with glory," now just reads, "Front." Clive isn't there. You don't ask. You slide back into your old post like you never left. Everything is exactly where you left it. The shovel still bent. The stack of unused letters, soggy but legible. The scratch marks you etched into the wood one night, just to prove you were still real. That evening, the sergeant gathers the men. Tomorrow, a push. No details, just that word. You clean your rifle in silence. Someone nearby
is writing a letter. He's only got 3 lines and keeps repeating the same one. We are well, the food is fine. You finally take off your boots. Your feet are swollen. The skin peels in strips. You poke a blister with the corner of a spoon. It hisses. You don't flinch. You put the boots back on. It rains again that night. You sleep in shifts, rifle across your chest, helmet tucked under your arm like it matters. Your dreams are strange now, not vivid, just shapes, color, sometimes a face, sometimes a sound, like a kettle boiling too long. Morning comes slow and heavy. The whistle comes quicker. You're back in line. Mabel in hand. The man next to you taps your shoulder, offers you a peppermint. You accept. You climb. Over the top. Again. The ground is familiar now, torn, jagged, half swallowed by mist. You could draw this field in your sleep. You have drawn it in your dreams 100 times. There's shouting, smoke, rifles snapping, but your focus narrows. Your boots, your breath. One step, then another. You move like a ghost through smoke. At one point, someone falls beside you. You step around him. A shell lands ahead. You don't stop. There's no music, no slow motion, no dramatic end. Just a sound, like thunder cracking inside your chest. Then nothing. No pain, just dark, just quiet. You're floating, not up, not down, just somewhere. The noise has stopped. The smells, the grit, the metal in your mouth, gone. It's not peace exactly, but it's not war either. You open your eyes. You're in a field. Not that field. A different one. Green. Whole. The wind moves the grass like soft waves. There's no shouting, no boots, no whistles. Just breath. You look down. Your hands are clean. Your boots dry. And somewhere far away, someone is singing, faintly. Not a hymn, not a soldier's song. Something older, something warm. You sit down, and you rest. For once, you really rest. The mud has let go. The lice have lost interest. The sky isn't watching anymore. And for the first time in a long time, you feel light. Not because you're flying, because you're not carrying anything anymore. No rifle, no name, no fear. Just silence. Just sleep. And sleep is good. Sleep is safe. You close your eyes and nothing chases you. Just the wind, just the grass. Just the hum of a world slowly forgetting what war feels like. And that maybe, is enough. Just enough.